In this session, we not only explore another prophetic book, but we introduce a new group of prophetic books. The last 12 books of the Christian Old Testament are called the Minor Prophets. In the Hebrew Scriptures, they were called the Book of the 12. These 12 separate books were written on one scroll. The Jews did this to communicate that the books were connected in some way. Their connection is seen in more than just the fact that they were placed together on a scroll. First, these books are organized chronologically. The minor prophets appear in order, which let us know when they were written. Second, and more importantly, there are themes that tie these books together. For example, some of these books refer to an event called the Day of the Lord, which was a special day of judgment in the Old Testament. Several of the minor prophets even wrestle with what is right ethical behavior, while some offer differing perspectives on Israel's relationship with other nations. But it's good to remember that the Book of the 12, or the Minor Prophets, is not 12 separate books, but 12 books with a common thread connecting them. The Message of Hosea is unique in the way it is delivered. This book is lived-out prophecy. In some ways, Hosea should remind us of the last session when God had Jeremiah live out the message by smashing a jar. In the book of Hosea, God has the prophet not only speak the message, but live out the message as well. Understanding this message requires us to understand the main characters. The book of Hosea has two key characters. First is the prophet Hosea, a man called to declare the will of God by what he says and what he does. Second, we meet Gomer, a prostitute Hosea is called to marry. The storyline of the book is simple. As you read in chapter 1, God told Hosea to do something very unusual. Hosea was told to marry Gomer, a woman known to be a prostitute. Chapter 2 openly reveals the problem: idolatry. In this story, Hosea represents God and Gomer represents Israel. Just as Gomer was unfaithful in her marriage, the nation of Israel was unfaithful to God by following after idols. The extent of God's love for Israel is found in chapter 3. Here, Hosea commits himself to ransoming Gomer. He pays for her release and marries her, knowing the entire time that she has been unfaithful. In the same way, God chose to redeem and purchase Israel, even though Israel was unfaithful to God. Our reading in chapter 5 helps remind us that this is still a message of judgment. God's actions have been those that demonstrate His love. But the problem still remains, because Israel has remained unfaithful. Because of this unfaithfulness, God brings judgment down on Israel. So, if we reflect on the book as a whole, we see Hosea delivering an example of God's love for His people in what he does with Gomer. However, we should remember that unfaithfulness to God can still have tragic consequences if we continually reject God's attempt to rescue us. Now, take time to answer the relational questions to see how the book of Hosea relates to your life.